Hey, my name is Stix and welcome back to Player Pass, a video series where I tell you my thoughts on whether or not you should play or pass on an upcoming gacha game. This game in specific, Duet Night Abyss, is a semi-open world action RPG that I'm sure a lot of you recall takes a lot of inspiration from Warframe. This game, I believe, has a lot of potential, but in the current form it is in, if it released in this state, would fail to live up to any expectation that any of us have. Now, this is a closed beta test, the very first global beta test held up until this point. I have been playing for, God, as long as it has allowed me to, and admittedly, there have been quite a number of alterations that have been made to this game from the technical test. I participated in the technical test from its launch back, I think like a year ago, maybe over a year ago. And ultimately, while there were new characters introduced, new features, new story elements, the game is still largely what I played. And admittedly, it also has full English dub now, or mostly English dub now. And admittedly, while this is still in the test phase, in the early stages of development, there hasn't been a whole lot that has changed that would, I guess, sway my opinion over the course of that 1 year period. I will note
things with a friend from the inner city. He will send his coach around here tonight. Once Psyche shows up, we'll take her out of town and lay low for a while.
The character models do look good.
Yeah, Robert Noble's coach.
And as you can tell,
after that,
the English dub is...
You really have a wide network, don't you?
The English dub is very good. Like, it is very good. Sometimes. Other times it is really bad. I believe they use the same studio that Reverse 1999 uses and that Wuthering Waves has been using for the 2.0, 2.1, etc. dubs, which is really good. The animations for characters are very good. Although admittedly I'm not overly fond of the floating weapon behind me, but the English dub is very good. Like 50% of the time. The character models look very good. I've unlocked at present Sybil, Hilda, Rebecca, Psyche, Phoebe from Wuthering Waves,
Who's the target today?
Lynn. Admittedly,
Who's the target today?
Lynn is she's a character that has quite an extensive selection of assets at her disposal. We have Hellfire, Margie, Randy, Tabitha, and Veronica. There are several other characters that I have not currently unlocked that you can purchase with Luno Coin. There's Fina, Fushu, Yuming, and that seems to be it. So I actually have most of the characters unlocked, but I opted for these ones specifically because I believe personally they were the most attractive. And at the end of the day, when you're playing a game of any kind, you want the characters that look the best, right? I can't be the only one that feels that way. So let me give you the lowdown of what kind of game this is. Here is the world, or here is a section of the world that is currently available. This is the city. There is the outskirts of the city. Just running around, you can immediately tell this takes a lot of inspiration from a Honkai Star Rail. Like, it is very Belobog-esque. Now, the city isn't instanced, which means you can freely enter and exit the city at will. There are plenty of things to do outside of the city. There are enemies to fight. You can traverse it and find side quests, you can find treasure chests, you can find harvestable materials. Here, as an example, is a treasure chest. Go ahead and open that. There is a harvestable material or mineral. Now, as you see, there are definitely some, let me go ahead and summon characters, by the way. Since I will point out, you can actually utilize 3 characters in battle. This is very much like Arknight's Enfield. You control one singular character. You cannot swap between characters from what I've seen. Maybe they'll add that eventually. I'm not entirely sure, but currently you cannot swap between the 3 characters you use, but you can deploy 3 characters at a given time, just like you can in Arknight's Enfield, which is very cool. The combat is action-oriented. You do not require a target to engage in combat, which is very cool. The world itself is very open. Lots of different things to see, lots of different things to explore, lots of different things to find, lots of different enemies to fight, lots of enemy diversity as well. Before we go any further, I do want to take a moment here to thank all of my incredible patrons over on Patreon and my YouTube channel members who allow for me to continue to do dedicated videos like this every single day. You guys are absolutely phenomenal, and I genuinely cannot thank you all enough for the support. The game overall is a lot of fun to just run around and freely traverse. Over here, you see there's just a random ass quest here. Safely deliver supplies to the designated location. This dude looks absolutely ridiculous. His name is Kevin, so he sounds equally as ridiculous as he looks. Tell me I gotta go over here. Let's go ahead and make our way over there for a second. There is a kind of wall run to an extent. As you can see, it's not to the same extent, I think, as like Wuthering Waves or Genshin Impact, where you can easily climb and traverse vertically along with horizontally. And the combat is actually fairly good. Some people were complaining that it's not as good as Wuwa, and yeah, it's not like that. I mean, Wuwa is gonna be a hard game to beat when it comes to combat, but at the same time, I think the combat's good. Sure, it could use some work, 100%, but this is in the early stages of development, so I'm not gonna hold it against him for not being as good as Wuwa in its final form. So here we'll go ahead and complete the quest. It's just a random ass side quest you find out in the world. So, oh, apparently it triggers a little scene too. Oh no, it didn't, he just disappeared. Oh wait, they attacked me. Okay, sure. It was a bit of a dick move, I think, but now with Sybil specifically, I can hold my E button and she does this really cool whip attack. Her normal left click is just a normal slash. She has a jump slam attack. She can pull out a bow. I have bow on everyone, but you can utilize ranged weapons like guns, shotguns, like missile launchers, a bow and arrow. Her E is a pretty simple elemental slash, or you can hold her E and it turns into a mass AoE, which is cool. You can also utilize your character's support ability, which summons them briefly and then they disappear after utilizing an ability. I'm gonna go ahead here and just skip this because I really don't care. It's a side quest. God, he looks stupid. Please, God, fix the NPCs. As you saw, upon the completion of that quest, I actually obtained like a Dungeons and Dragons inspired like skill boost, stat boost, which is very interesting because those do actually inhibit your progress. Certain quests won't allow for you to participate in them or to complete them until you have a certain proficiency in it. So that's a very interesting way of tackling progression. And that's pretty much the world. I mean, the world is relatively large, relatively free in terms of what you can do, but there are small loading screens that separate the entirety of the world. There are enormous zones that you can freely explore, and then going through the loading screen leads you to the next region. Currently, there is the Purgatorio Island environs, the Hyperborean Empire. This is largely explorable without loading screens. Then there are going to be additional ones added in the future as additional test phases continue to be held. Outside of the questing, outside of the exploration, a lot of the game takes place in the combat section, which are essentially all instanced battles: relocation, defense, escort, meditation, or mediation rather, expedition, expulsion, Noctoyer manual defense, Noctoyer manual capture, expulsion, termination, hedge, excavation. So as you can see, a lot of these reward you with various different types of beneficial materials: coins, character XP items, weapon XP items, character demon wedges for specific melee or consonance weapons, ranged weapons, the ascension materials for different characters, ascension materials for weapons, etc., etc. These are all relatively similar. What they are essentially deployable missions where you deploy up to 3 different characters into an area like this. Go ahead and summon my different characters. I'll initiate this to start the excavation. I'm actually just gonna jump down because I think it's faster to just jump down than it is waiting for that. Now, in these little instance missions, which do cost stamina to do, you'll encounter treasure chests like this, which have juicy rewards. And then you'll have relatively decent sized areas to explore. There are chests over there, there are chests down here, and each mission type has their own unique objectives. Things like escort this character, or escort this monster, harvest this material, kill this monster, survive X amount of waves. I'm not sure. Let's see, this one is activate the excavator. I think it's gonna be a protect it. There we go, yep. This is a protection mission, so I'm gonna go ahead here and just summon my AoE ball, and then it, along with my AI controlled party members, are pretty much just gonna do everything. I really don't need to. As you can tell, they are absolutely decimating everything. Absolutely everything. There's there's nothing for me really here to do. I can summon an additional ball, or I guess I can attack if I really feel spicy, but this is from what I've experienced, kind of an easy AFK, get it, set and forget it kind of game mode. A bunch of them actually are, especially for farming materials that you're a little bit over leveled for. And honestly, these are kind of fun for like 5-10 times as you get to play through all the different environments, all the different maps, and then it just becomes repetitious, an absolute horrible repetitious mess. I mean that with much love. After you have done this several dozen times, you've done the same map with the same 2 enemy types 10, 20, 50 times, because that's how many times it takes you to farm the materials you need. It gets so irritating, so boring, so monotonous that you hope to God you have the character that lets you AFK. You genuinely do. Because like, I cannot express to you how boring it is to fight these same 2, the same skinny monster, the same little wolf monster, and then every now and then the big fat monster. It's just, and so many of these take 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and it's just such a waste of time. I like that in games like WoW, it takes like 20 seconds or less to do, and now you can, you know, double your rewards. But in this, like, it's just not at all enjoyable. Now you can continue to do additional waves. The level of the monsters will increase. The rewards will increase. But do you want to do that? No. You really don't. It's just so monotonous and so boring. You cannot wait for it to end. And you're rewarded with 3. That was it. Very little at all in terms of reward. And those are pretty much the majority of the game modes. And outside of exploring and doing the story, that makes up essentially the entirety of the game. There is a co-op mode here as well, but Mrs. Stix is unfortunately not here, so I can't really showcase the co-op. I will note though, one thing I really do like about this game is its gacha. So you can't see it right now because I already completed it, but when starting, there is a guarantee. I don't remember if the guarantee was 90 or 100 pulls, but it was like 90 to 120 pulls. I'm gonna say 90 because that's what I think it was. And at 90 pulls, you are guaranteed the limited banner character. Now, that limited banner character guarantee is a 1 single use, which means you obtain that character and then the guarantee disappears. After successfully obtaining the limited banner character, the new altered version of the banner appears and takes its place. There is a 50-50 here with a 0.6% chance of obtaining a 5-star character. The 50-50 happens at exactly 90 pulls, and you're guaranteed the limited banner character on the second 50-50 win at 180. So this is a little bit higher than Wuthering Waves, but the same as Genshin Impact, Zenless, Honkai Star Rail. But again, you are given a guaranteed character on your first 90. So that any additional 90 after that, or any additional 50-50 after that, is for dupes only, which I think is actually very good. No 50-50 on your first character, and then a guarantee every 180 is a lot better than something like Wuwa or Genshin or even Arknight's Enfield. The weapon banner is just like Wuthering Waves. You have a 100% guarantee at exactly 80 pulls, which means that unlike Genshin or Zenless, you don't have to hit 90, you don't have to hit a 50-50 at 180. You're guaranteed it at 100 or at 80, which is fantastic, just like Wuthering Waves. I do very strongly appreciate that. The normal banner is exactly like the limited banner. And ultimately, I think at the end of the day, this gacha is very good. As you can tell, you get both weapons and characters. I didn't even know that was a character I could recruit. Interesting. As you can tell, weapons and characters, which is a little bit annoying. I'm not overly fond of getting weapons in place of characters, but I mean, it's whatever.
Oliver would be much better at fighting than me.
Again, I didn't even know that was a character, so that's kind of cool. But now that we're in the character menu, okay.
Good.
So you can level up your characters, you can ascend your characters just like in every gacha game. Each character has demon wedges they can equip. These are essentially like echoes, like artifacts, more or less. You can equip up to 8 of them per character. You can equip a certain amount of them. The max I can equip here is 60, so I'm gonna go ahead here and equip as many as I can. I use 33 out of the 60 tolerance. They alter my stats. Weapons are the same way. You equip these items, demon wedges, onto them. They increase the power of your weapons. You equip it on your main weapon. You equip it on your ranged weapon. You equip it on your character. So a lot of farming is necessary. Probably more farming than in any other gacha game that you do. You can level or upgrade demon wedges to make them more powerful, make them more beneficial. You have different skills. These skills can be leveled and upgraded They utilize materials that you need to farm as well. There are dupes. The dupes aren't, I think, game breaking from what I've seen. Things like increase your stats or increase the strength of various different abilities, make them more powerful, but nothing where they change the very foundation of your character. Where if you don't have that dupe, your character is going to be vastly inferior. Now it's just that, you know, like your character will be weaker comparatively. There is this cool little function where you can actually decorate every single character you have. You can put all these different accessories onto them, which is honestly kind of cool. Like, this is a cute little addition to the game. Things you can place directly on their face, like this Code Vein style mask, cool eye accessories. Like, this is all really cool. Actually, very few, I think if any, gacha games actually allow for you to do this, so I appreciate this. This is actually one of the coolest features in the game, and I hope other gacha games let you to, or allow you to in the future, alter your character's appearance to this extent. And that is Duet Night Abyss. Honestly, once again, not a bad game at all, but at the same time, not a good game. Now, I do appreciate the devs giving me access both in the first technical test and again during the beta test, so I will state why I think how I think and why I feel how I feel. I think that the combat is good. I think genuinely the combat is good. It's fast, it's fluid. I think the animations definitely need some work, and you can see that by me just using my, look at that. That is a very stiff animation that has no movement as I descend. I think having, here's another fun feature. You actually need a specific element or ability to shatter the, whatever the treasure chest is encased in, which is very cool. I think the game has a lot of great features. I think the voice acting is very cool. I think it is actually very high quality. I think the story is very boring and needs drastic alteration because it's just not enjoyable at all. I think the world is incredibly fun to explore. I like the fact that it's not just a Genshin clone. You don't just run up walls, right? Some of the walls you can climb, some of the walls you can't climb. I think, once again, the combat is good. The animations are okay. I like the fact that you have an alternate weapon, a ranged weapon and a melee weapon that you equip both. I like the fact that while some weapons are definitely better and more beneficial and more powerful for certain characters, I like that you can very easily swap between which character uses what weapon. Everyone can equip the same katana, everyone can equip the same spear, the same bow. So realistically, you're not forced to level every single unique character exclusive weapon if you don't want to. You can just level 3 weapons and share them amongst all your characters. I think that's gonna make it a lot easier. I think a lot easier on your wallet, so you don't need to spend as much money. I think the character models look good. I think the animations for character models definitely need some work. When I deploy Hellfire as an example, when she runs around, there's no movement whatsoever. She's very stiff as a character, which is kind of sad to see. But this is a test phase after all, and they have stated that the test phase is going to differ now quite significantly to whatever they ultimately end up with. So I think the animations are definitely going to be something that they need to work on. I think the repetitious nature of the combat feature and all of the dungeons that you run is definitely going to need some work. That is going to be a grind that absolutely nobody enjoys. People thought that Wuthering Waves was a grind for Echoes, that artifact grinding was an issue in Genshin. This is that, but multiplied in severity and repetition. So I think this game definitely has some areas it needs to improve in. It's doing well in others, but this is not ready right now to release. This is not in a releasable state whatsoever. If this were to release right now, this would fail. But I say that with the knowledge that ample improvements are going to be made. I have the utmost faith in the Duet Night Abyss team that they will take the feedback that we as players are giving them and then make sufficient alterations to the game so it can be a success and that we can ultimately enjoy it. At the end of the day, our criticisms are what are going to make the game better. If we just tell them, yeah, your game's great, man, good job, it's not going to improve. We need to tell them what we don't like, what they need to improve on so they can improve. So when the game ultimately releases and millions of people play it, they're happy with the final result. Because at the end of the day, we all want this game to succeed, and it's not going to without us. We need to be honest, we need to be genuine, and we need to be critical with our feedback so they can make this game the best game it can be. Do I like the game? Yes. I think the game looks great, plays well, and is generally fun. Needs a lot of improvement, but I have faith that they will. Hey, Hey, where do you think you're going? I see what you're doing there. I see you navigating on over, scrolling on over to that X button. Don't you dare. What I need you to do is take a moment and click one of the videos that are about to appear as soon as I'm done talking. And trust me, you're gonna wanna.